You're going to hear this repeatedly. In Baker Mayfield's first season in Cleveland, without Odell, he had a higher completion percentage, more yards per attempt. What's more, this season, he's averaging nearly 4 more yards per attempt when targeting anyone other than Beckham. I'm going to get to that part of it in a minute. But first, Marcus, this is a guy you know, an LSU guy, and he's one of the most interesting people in the NFL. So I guess I would ask you, where is he right now? In your mind, where is Odell Beckham at this moment in his career as he faces the rest of this season and whatever the future is?
He's getting the injury prone tag connected to his name at this point, G. But not only that, like finding a landing spot now changes the picture because Odell Beckham is still a one, still dynamic. And for all intents and purposes, we all know guys can come back from a torn ACL and be as good as they were before. But the thing now is when you bring Odell Beckham Jr. in, there's a sheet on him about injuries. There's the opportunity for you to have to pay a guy a certain amount of money and him not being available for the rest of the way or when you need him. And he's a dynamic playmaker. We talked about that early in the season. Cleveland was giving him opportunities to close out games by putting the ball in his hands. So the bottom line is down. Now you're approaching 30. You have an injury sheet, and teams aren't going to look at you the same as that young, dynamic receiver that can transcend some of the things that they are trying to do offensively.
Odell improvises and hangs his quarterback out to dry. Do you realize that the Browns, their identity is a ground and pound team? It's a top 3 rush team in the entire NFL. Their best personnel grouping is 13 personnel, 3 tight ends. And when Austin Hooper gets back and when Nick Chubb gets back, we're talking about a team that can be multiple with Bryant's emergence and with Njoku, who got a touchdown catch, a beautiful touchdown catch the other day. Like, you can tell me all you want about Odell, but the team is most efficient with 13 personnel on the field where they average 6.5 yards a play. So I think that Odell causes more problems than he does good.
Guys,
it was just a moment ago. It was just week 3.
G-Mac.
If Swagoo had any hair, he'd be pulling it out right now.
Was run the ball.
Let me get Swagoo in here because he's pulling out the hair he no longer has. Go ahead, Swagoo. What has you so worked up?
It's unbelievable that we having this conversation right now. 2 weeks ago, Odell Beckham Jr. was back, and him and Baker Mayfield were on the same page. And the Cleveland Browns was a true, legit contender in their conference until they went to Pittsburgh and got beat to sleep. Now, I'm going to ask any quarterback in the NFL, do you want OBJ on your team or do you not want him on your team when you have the opportunity to try to win the Super Bowl or get into the playoffs? This is crazy to me. I know we got numbers and analytics, and Baker Mayfield looks for everybody when OBJ is not on the field. All of that is fine. So nobody signed a number 1 receiver. You know what? Julio, leave Atlanta because Matt Ryan might be better without you because he'll see everybody else. D-Hop, leave Arizona. Kyler might be better because everybody else will be open.
Let me bookmark this.
Man, what are we talking about?
We're talking about apples and oranges here. You're talking about apples and oranges. You have
just finished talking about it.
Julio's not complaining about not getting touches. Julio's not complaining every time he doesn't get thrown to.
Odell's not either, to be
Allie,
fair.
I'll tell you what. Let's live here. Let's just stay in this. We're not going to get off it because it's a good topic and it's a bigger picture topic. Let me get Graziano in on this because Jeff Saturday is basically saying half the league is high. But the reality is, I think there are more people who think the way Greg McElroy thinks than you might come away from this conversation believing. Where do you believe right now the player and the team are relative to their future long term?
The team believes it has enough to operate its offense. It would rather have Odell Beckham. There's no question about it. But they like Rashard Higgins, and they feel like they can throw to the tight ends. And when Nick Chubb gets back, to Greg's point, they want to operate through the run game. Again, Jeff Saturday, they would rather have Odell Beckham on the team. But they don't right now, and they think they can make the most of what they have in his absence. In terms of Odell long term, look, he's going to be on the Browns in 2021. His contract includes almost $13 million in fully guaranteed salary for next year. I'm sorry, injury guaranteed salary for next year that becomes fully guaranteed in March. There's no way he's going to pass a physical by March with a torn ACL. So he's got that money coming to him next year from the Browns. He doesn't turn 28 years old until next week. I mean, do we forget how great a player this was? Like, he was historically great his first 3 years in the league, and the Browns think he can he can get back and be that again.
That's reasonable, but the most important word you just used is was. So let me bring the group back in here.
True.
I mean, that's really part of the question here. Is Odell Beckham still what he once was? There's no doubt that he showed you early in his career that he was. Marcus, why are you shaking your head? Is he definitely still that guy?
Gee, he just showed us he this guy. Does this 1 week change? I need everybody on this show to tell me, were we not 2 weeks ago talking about Odell Beckham Jr. being back?
Yes, he made two spectacular plays in what felt like a very big win for Cleveland, right? He made the one play where on the end around where he made a bunch of people miss, and we talked about how awful the Dallas defense was and everything else. This is the play that I'm talking about right here. This is the play that had us all on Get Up that week saying, oh, look, Odell Beckham is back, and they finally figured out how to use their favorite weapon. But the reality is, for whoever's fault it is, Marcus, it is reasonable to say Odell Beckham has not had anywhere near the impact in Cleveland over the year and a half that he's been there that I think we all expected him to have. Marcus, is that fair? And if so, why is it the case?
Gee, it's fair, and you know why. Because the quarterback is not, I keep telling y'all this, so now this is the ever revolving cycle, all right? You go play against Pittsburgh, you put 7 points on the game against a good defense. You play the Bengals, you throw 5 touchdowns, and I don't want to shake a stick, this is the NFL, right, but it's the Bengals. Just like we just got done talking about the Chicago Bears with fool's goals wins. Go look at see who Cincinnati done beat. Go look at the 2 opponents they done played that's in their division that we consider Super Bowl contenders or deep playoff run teams, and look at the score. We don't, what evidence we need. All we got to do is look at what's happening. That's what's so great about our job. We can look at the games and we could tell, oh, they did this, but this team sucked. And they did this, and this team good. There it is.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.